name's Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting a company update from Volcanic Gold Mines, which trades on the TSX.V under the symbol VG. Joining me again is Volcanic's President and CEO, Simon Ridgway. Simon, thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for the invite, Megan. Always a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And Simon, to start things off, for those new to the Volcanic story, could you please introduce our listeners to the company and your portfolio of projects in Guatemala?
Yeah, certainly. So Volcanic Gold, it was formed to actually explore projects that Radius, a sister company, owned in Guatemala. Radius worked in Guatemala for a number of years, had a number of good projects, but then drifted into Mexico and made some good discoveries in Mexico during a period where, the government of Guatemala was in an anti-mining phase, we'll say. So Radius focused on Mexico, made a couple of discoveries there. And about 3 to 4 years ago, when the government changed and it was a pro-mining government, pro-employment, pro-investment, I wanted to get back into Guatemala. So Radius was busy in Mexico, so I formed Volcanic to basically explore Radius's land position in Guatemala. So Volcanic made a joint venture with Radius, whereby it could earn into 60% of Radius's two main projects, which was the Holly property, and look at a whole bunch of other projects that the company had in the country by spending $7 million US over a 4-year period. To date, we've spent about 4.5 of that 7. And a lot of that money has been spent on a discovery we made called the Holly Project. We made a discovery there, a high grade, 500,000 ounces, well, actually 400,000 ounces at 9 grams. And it's still open. That project is near a Cel Blanco discovery that was being developed by Bluestone. So that still needs work on. But meanwhile, we recently made another discovery way to the north of that in what's called the Motagua Suture zone. It's a major fault that runs, it's a plate boundary that runs across the Caribbean that puts the Caribbean plate against the North American plate. And within that big, broad fault zone, we made a discovery which we call the Mila Project. We're getting a lot of visible gold at surface in quartz veins in a schistose belt. And I think it's a very exciting discovery.
Yesterday, we received another piece of news from your Motagua Norte project. And before we talk about the results, could you give us a brief overview of the Mila prospect?
So the Mila Project is within the Motagua Suture zone, which is, like I said, a big fault zone through it. We just got the concession granted about a month ago. We made the initial discovery about a year ago. Just some quartz float was found, so we made an application. And we've been working since then to get the concession granted, which was just granted to us, as I said, a few weeks ago. So we got to work on the property and put some, not trenching or drilling yet. We haven't got the permit to do that. That's under application. But we were able to take a lot of surface samples on the float and subcrop and outcrop that we've seen. And we put in a number of trenches across the Mila Project, and we got some quite phenomenal results. So we released those yesterday. Mm-hmm. And the grades that we're getting are not just in the quartz float, but they're also in the schistose. You can see on this slide here, the picture at the bottom, just above where it says 94 grams. That is a sericitic schist with quartz veining stockworking running through it. So above the picture above is the quartz float or quartz veins, where we're getting really high grade, but we're also getting very good grades within the schistose rocks that host the quartz veins. So as we see, can we just flip to the slide with all of the trench results on? And these are the pictures of what we're seeing in the field. A lot of float with very high grade in there. So what we did a systematic number of chip samples across these areas where we're getting the high grade to make sure that we weren't sort of high grading it. And these are some of the results we got. 24 meters of 54 grams gold, 10 meters of 3 ounces gold, 95 grams over a 10 meter interval, 34 meters of 42 grams. So some very exciting results over an area. So far, we've mapped this in, 500 and 600 meters by about 250 meters, but we're having some success also outside of that area. So an exciting project, exciting early stage discovery.
Absolutely. What I found quite interesting is the widespread high-grade mineralization on the prospect. Do you see the footprint of this target continuing to grow, or is this the main target area for your future drilling?
No, I think the belt itself will continue to have more discovery within the Mila project itself. As I said, we recently identified some veins to the south of this that are carrying the same grades, although a little bit narrower. And this is an orogenic system, so these systems usually go to depth. They're a bit different to epithermal systems where you've got a vertical component of, to 200 or 300 meters for the most part, where the gold mineralization will drop out. But these orogenic systems can go to great depth. So we're very excited by this find, and I think we'll be working on it for quite a while.
And can you touch on the next steps here? You've got continuous high-grade surface mineralization with some very impressive rock chip intervals. Are the next steps to commence drilling once you receive a permit, or will you be looking to further define this target?
No, a bit of both. Actually, we've still got geos on the ground that are prospecting the area and defining more quartz veins to the south of this area. But obviously we have applications to get permits to drill and trench in with the government, and we are pushing to get those granted. We're also working with the locals in the area to bring them on side. It's a very arid area. There's not much you can grow in this ground. There's very few people living in the area where the concession is. There's some towns around it that want employment, so they're quite happy to see potential development in the area. So we work on all three fronts. So extending the area where we have the mineralization, pushing to get the permits granted so we can drill some of these targets, and working with the locals to bring them on side and employ as many people as we can to advance the project.
Thank you so much, Simon. And to cap things off, do you have any final comments for our listeners on Volcanic Gold Mines?
I think just watch closely. I think we'll see this develop. We'll have more news flow as we sample these trenches to the south, and hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll get a permit granted and we can put some drill holes, and it should be very exciting times for the company.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Simon, and we'll be keeping a close eye on your developments and look forward to having you back on again soon.
Good to talk to you again, Megan. Thanks for the invite. Talk to you soon.